And straightway in the morning, the chief priests held a consultation with the elders and scribes in the whole council, and bound Jesus and carried him away and delivered him to Pilate. Now, according to this narrative, Pilate wrangled with the chief priests over the accusations they made against Jesus. It states, "And Pilate answered and said again unto them," meaning the chief priests, "What will ye then that I shall do unto him whom ye call the King of the Jews?" And they cried out again, "Crucify him." Then Pilate said unto them, "Why? What evil have he done?" And they cried out the more exceedingly, "Crucify him." Well, this brings us to the definition of these characters: Pilate, the scribes, the chief priests, the elders, and the whole council. Now, we covered some of this in a previous message on the series of the crucifixion of the Messiah, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. But we'll go a bit further here. Well, let's start with Pilate. Pilate could be seen as someone who believes he's detached from the Messiah, the King of the Jews, but he has authority in his realm of political power to execute the law of the land, since Jesus' kingdom is not there, but is forthcoming. Pilate is a governor of Caesar. Now, Pilate in this case could be the United States president. It appears to me, looking at President Donald Trump's behavior, that he could care less about what the scribes and the chief priests say about the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, since he himself is probably a victim second only to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan of the mass media's attack against him. So they have something in common. Now, the scribes represent, of course, the synagogue of Satan's global mass news media apparatus. The scribes are the synagogue of Satan's most formidable weapon in directing public opinion and behavior. On a more global level, the chief priests are the hypocritical religious leaders of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism who teach the coming of the Messiah, but in their hearts desire to maintain the status quo of rebellion against Almighty God. The elders are the old, rich Caucasian families of the world who have made the earth a den of thieves. And the whole council, which joins these critters, could be all of the councils that uphold this satanic world, such as the United States Congress, the Federal Reserve Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and even the United Nations. That's on a global level of these characters who are being described in this narrative. Now, on a more national level, by referring to Jesus as King of the Jews, Pilate again separated himself from those who wanted Jesus crucified. So in this sense, if Jesus is the King of the Jews, meaning King of the children of Israel, then the chief priests, the scribes, the elders, and the whole council are of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan's people, the black people of the Western Hemisphere in particular. Now, in a previous message, we identified the chief priests as the religious leaders among black people. Maybe your high-profile preachers that got big television ministry. The elders here could represent leaders of the black civil rights organizations. Although they may be young, the civil rights organizations are old, so they could be considered the elders. And the scribes are the black news media outlets and black news media personalities. Well, who then is the whole council that joins the chief priests and the elders and the scribes? Is it potentially the executive council of the Nation of Islam? Specifically, a misrepresentation of the executive council. What do you mean? Well, the executive council's responsibilities and powers are delineated in the Muhammad Mosque Provisional Constitution, which I personally didn't find published anywhere on the Nation of Islam's website, unless I missed it. But if I didn't, that's a travesty, because what does it mean? Well, for one, it may mean that many of the registered members of the Nation of Islam are unaware of their provisional constitution. As such, the Executive Council is a mysterious body to everyone but themselves. Equally as daunting is that the absence of public information and knowledge about the Muhammad Mosque Provisional Constitution may serve as an opening for the pundits of the Synagogue of Satan to deviously misrepresent the Executive Council's relationship to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. In fact, this has been underway for several years. Some of these persons have went as far to state that the Executive Council is authorized to reprimand and even remove the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Well, some of you may say, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. Well, where's the knowledge and information that says it's not true? Do you have it in your hands? And the answer to that is no. So perhaps this sheds light on why Jesus taught the disciples about his crucifixion. He wanted them to seal up the cracks to prevent the slimy devils of the synagogue of Satan from entering. So either we can fully represent who we are to the people, or wait for the synagogue of Satan to do it. And if that happens, there may not be even an opportunity to rebound.